We got Susan from San Diego. Hi, Joe and Al. My husband has money in a SEP IRA that he was able to save when he had a small business years ago. He no longer has that business, just his regular income, which is reported on a W-2. As he cannot add any more savings to the SEP, he was thinking about converting this to a Roth IRA this year. He will have to pay the taxes on the conversion, but is it possible for him to convert straight from his SEP IRA to his Roth? Susan, yes. The answer is yes. Absolutely. But you would want to be careful, I guess. I mean, what's the balance of the SEP IRA?
Yeah.
What tax bracket are you
Sure.
in?
I mean, you got to ask a few more questions. And I think that's a great question because a lot of times when you're reading or listening to pundits that talk about you could do an IRA to Roth conversion, you could also do a SEP IRA to a Roth conversion. You can do a 401k balance to a Roth conversion. You can sort of take any
retirement account and convert it to a Roth IRA.
Yeah, right. And now it used to be that you could recharacterize if you converted too much. You had to the filing date of your tax return, and you had to recharacterize generally back to an IRA, regardless of where it came from. But those rules are gone. So it's very simple. Whatever account you have, it's a SEP IRA. You can convert that directly to a Roth. The question is, should you? Right? What's your tax bracket now? What's it going to be in the future? Maybe you're in a low bracket. Maybe you're in a high bracket. The lower the bracket you are, the more likely you're going to want to do a conversion now while tax rates are lower. Maybe you want to fill up your current bracket, so maybe you don't convert it all. Maybe you convert part of it. So those are things you got to look at.
Yeah. So again, to refresh our listeners on what the heck conversion is taking money. So a SEP IRA is just a self-employment pension plan. So her husband, Susan's husband, was self-employed and set up a retirement plan for his small business. And so it was a pre-tax plan, so he got the tax deduction for money going into the SEP. The money grows tax deferred, and then when he would pull the money out, it's going to be taxed at ordinary income rates. Susan is a big fan of the show, and so she's like, well, wait a minute, maybe it might make sense for him or us to have tax-free money in retirement. So strategies that we've talked about in the past is taking retirement accounts, any accounts for that matter, and moving some of that or all of it into a Roth. The reason why you would want to do that is that all future growth of that investment will grow 100% tax-free. So you convert $10,000, that $10,000 grows to $15,000. Let's say you need to pull a few thousand out to live on. That would be 100% tax-free for you as long as you qualified for a tax-free distribution, and that just means you have to be over 59.5 or the Roth needs to be open for 5 years or longer. So what we look at and what we talk about is that, tax rates are a little bit lower now. We had the tax reform, so marginal rates have dropped. And so it could be a really good strategy for a lot of people to look at. So looking at your tax return is going to determine how much that you convert, right?
Yeah, you bet. And so what we're talking about, like, for example, a married couple, the 24% tax bracket goes all the way up to about $320,000, $321,000 of taxable income for 2019. Realize when you do a Roth conversion, you have to do it in the tax year that you're in. In other words, it's not like a contribution where you can do it April 15th. You have to do it by year end. So now we're talking 2019. And so for a lot of folks, it's like, well, this is a lower bracket now than I'm going to be in retirement because the old tax rates are coming back, and alternative minimum tax will be a bigger factor when it comes back. And so why not? And for single, that 24% bracket goes to about $160,000. So that's pretty good to take a look at that. I think virtually everyone listening should be considering it. Now, whether they should do it or not is based upon their own circumstances.
And she goes on to write is that it would be very beneficial for your listeners as you highly recommend everyone having a Roth IRA. Susan, we do not highly recommend anything on this show. We share ideas. We do not give advice.
True.
That's compliance. Thank you for all the great information you share. Okay. So she wants to learn a little bit about a stretch Roth IRA. So let's say that her husband then converts the SEP IRA to a Roth IRA, and then the Roth IRA is growing tax-free and the husband dies. What happens to that money? So a few things can happen. Let's say Susan's still living. She could keep it in the deceased husband's name and she has full access to the money like it's her own because she's the beneficiary, as long as she's the beneficiary on the account. So she could keep it in his name, and let's say Susan's under 59.5, she can have full access to the dollars. That's the only real reason why you would want to keep it in a deceased spouse name, is that if you're under 59.5 and you need access to it, because if you are a beneficial owner of a retirement account, you have access to those dollars without that 10% penalty.
Right.
So it would still be tax-free to you, Susan, as long as that account was open for 5 years. If it wasn't, you would still have to wait for the 5-year clock to get any type of interest out of that account. Maybe you're wondering what happens to that account at both of your spouses, and let's say you have a son or daughter that is going to be the beneficiary of that account. So if it's after the second spouse passes, how it works is that it would still be in the deceased's name. So to make this easy, let's say her husband passes, Susan puts the Roth IRA into her own Roth IRA, which she can because they're spouses. Now she passes away and it goes to her child. Now the child cannot put the Roth IRA into the child's account. It will blow the thing up. It would unravel everything, and 100% of that Roth IRA would be distributed. Then any future growth of those dollars are going to be taxed, either a capital gains, interest, or dividend. So you don't want to do that, especially if you're converting it and paying tax. You want to have it parlayed tax deferred as long as you possibly can. So you pass, Susan, it goes to your heir. And so what happens then is that it still stays in your name, though. That's the biggest tricky part about all retirement accounts going to the next generation, or any non-spouse beneficiary, I should say. So it's in Susan's name for the benefit of her issue, all right?
Which is kid.
Which is child.
Or any beneficiary.
Well, he's probably caused some issues in Susan's life.
I'm just clarifying.
Thank you.
You got legal on us.
Thank you. I read a book over the weekend.
Apparently.
So then, but here's the catch. With Roth IRAs, right, you don't have to take a required distribution, right? If it's your account, you do not have to take a required distribution. What that is that it's a mandatory distribution. Age 70.5, thereafter, you have to start taking money out of the account. In a Roth IRA, you do not, as long as you're the owner of the account. Once you pass away, though, you're still the owner of the account. The beneficiary is a beneficial owner. So it's not a true ownership of that account. So that non-spouse beneficiary will have to take a required distribution from the Roth IRA based on that child's life expectancy. The distribution's tax-free, but they do have to pull money out of the account based on their life expectancy.
Yeah, I think and that bears a little repeating. So it's still tax-free. When you do the Roth conversion, what's in that account is tax-free for whoever inherits it. But if it's a non-spouse, if it's a child or nephew or friend, a non-spouse, then they have to take a required distribution. They could be 8 years old and still have to take a distribution based upon the 8-year-old's life expectancy. And the reason is because the IRS doesn't want these accounts to grow generation after generation tax-free.
And so in recent tax law that did not pass is that what they want to do is eliminate basically the stretch IRA.
Right. And we thought they would because both the Democrats and the Republicans wanted that.
So they were saying, no, this is a retirement account. We want you to distribute in your lifetime because it's for your retirement, not your child's retirement.
That's right. Or if you die early, it's got to come out in 5 years.
Right. Get the whole thing out. We want our tax money. Let's recycle the money, right? And so what the latest proposal was is that you could pass about $450,000, 400 or 450. That would be able to stretch. Everything else has to come out within 5 years or that year.
Yeah, and that was the proposal, which did not pass.
Right, it didn't pass, so we still have the stretch.
We still have the full stretch on regular IRAs and Roth IRAs.
And, I mean, there's been rumors of, all right, well, maybe you can pass $1 million, maybe it's 200, maybe it's 4, whatever. So stay tuned on that. But just know that if you ever inherit a retirement account, you have to take a required distribution. We just had an individual that came in, inherited an account, never took a required distribution for like 3 or 4 years. And then they were with a broker. And we're like, well, what did you tell the broker? And then they're like, oh, yeah, they're going to run some numbers for me. And I was like, well, when did you inherit this thing? Well, 4 or 5 years ago. And you've never taken an RMD? I looked at the tax return, nothing.
Right.
So that's a 50% tax penalty each year that you don't take the RMD. When you're looking at beneficial IRAs, It's completely different than a regular IRA. Most custodians, right, if you got your money at TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, Merrill Lynch, whatever, they usually will send you a letter, right, and saying, hey, we have your birth date here. You're 75 years old. You need to take money out of this account. And here's the amount roughly that you need to take out. And they're just going to give you the number on the accounts that they hold. So maybe you have an account at Fidelity, you have an account at TD Ameritrade and Charles Schwab. Maybe Charles Schwab doesn't do it or forgets it, and then you get the number from TD Ameritrade and you only take that RMD. Well, you're going to be short the RMD. Be careful with that. But non-spouse beneficiaries, a lot of them don't even calculate that. They don't even know. They're like, screw it, right? I don't even know how much money, that's on you. You are the taxpayer. You are responsible for taking the required distribution. The custodian is not. They're doing it as a service, as a customer service perk. The IRS does not mandate, Fidelity to send you on a statement for what I know.
Right.
So.
Wow, you got pretty fired up.
Well, I just don't want people to lose money.
Okay.
I got a big heart, Al.
Apparently.
Yeah. You got a big wallet. I got a big heart.